Hi, this week we are going to be combining what we have already learned and practiced with our pencils, with some different shading techniques, with what we practiced last week with value and value scales. And we're going to be combining all of those together to do some sweet treat drawings inspired by the work of an American painter named Wayne Thiebaud. Your drawing requirements, just to get these out of the way so you know what to expect. You are going to be creating a drawing of candy or a food. I'll show you some examples in just a second. Using various shading techniques with at least, you can do more, but at least 3 basic geometric forms. Your drawings need to be large, so the paper that you're drawing on, you need to have it take up a lot of the space. Again, it needs to have 3 basic geometric forms, and those forms need to be shaded to look 3-dimensional. Your darkest values, like we practiced last week, are going to be in your cast shadow, or the part that falls on a surface. You need to have a full range of medium values on the object itself. Your highlights, which is the lightest value, usually just plain white paper, is going to be closest to your light source, and your light source needs to be consistent. So Thiebaud's work is predominantly of food, and if you really break it down, it's all just basic geometric forms, which is what this week's assignment is going to be. So though he's using paint and he's using color, we can see a lot of the stuff that we were talking about last week. So this is a picture of 3 strawberry milkshakes, but if you break it down into its basic geometric forms, really what you're looking at are 6 cylinders. So there are 3 cylinders for the straws and 3 cylinders for the cups, and there are strong cast shadows throughout. The light source is consistent, so the light source is coming from the lower right-hand corner of this painting, and so you can tell that the shadows are going in the opposite direction. And those shadows are falling based on where the straws are at, right here, and then where the cups are at, where they're lined up. So you are allowed to use for this the same geometric shape if you want to. So this, like I said, is just 6 cylinders. You can use the same geometric shape if you want to, but you have to have at least 3 of them. So this is an example of one of his paintings. This is one of an ice cream cone. This is technically 4 different geometric shapes. So you have the cone shape, you have the little stand that the cone is resting in. So this would be a rectangular prism, and then you have a sphere and a sphere, and there are cast shadows both where the ice cream meets each other, where there's some cast shadows happening here. There's a cast shadow on the cone, there's a cast shadow on the cone right here, and then there's also a cast shadow back in this direction. So this would absolutely meet the requirements. It's basic geometric forms: sphere, sphere, cone. You don't have to necessarily include the rectangular prism, but there's also a rectangular prism right there. This is another one of just cylinders, some delicious looking cakes. You'll see that he has the shadows curving around the sides of these cakes, curving around the sides. The cast shadow is falling both on the plate and on the ground right here, and you'll notice that these are the darkest values in the painting, and that should be consistent with your cast shadows as well. He's got a whole plethora of work. If you guys are interested, you can take a look at some more of his stuff. But the plates are cylinders, the slices of looks like some kind of meringue pie are basically pyramids. Remember, with objects that have flat sides or shapes, like these slices of pie, one whole face or one whole side is going to be a consistent value. For curved surfaces like cylinders, and these lollipops are just, flattened cylinders, you'll have a more gradual blending of your different values. I like this Coke bottle one just because it's got some really interesting shapes. I will caution you that glass is exceptionally difficult to draw. So just a quick overview of what our basic geometric forms are. Things like spheres and cylinders, cubes, triangular prisms, pyramids, cones. These are the building blocks for whatever it is you're drawing, whether it's a person, whether it's an object. These are the basic building blocks that you can turn anything into. So we're concentrating on these basic geometric forms, and you're going to be turning them into your sweet treat drawings. Some examples of some student artwork with this assignment in the past. Of course, it doesn't have to be a sweet treat. It can be something savory if you would like. So this is an example of a hamburger. It's got lots and lots of toppings on it. And this student really played around with different textures in between the different layers of like tomatoes and pickles and lettuce. You can play around with that as well. The cast shadow is falling back behind it. It looks like they've added a strong horizontal line right here to indicate that this hamburger is going to be in some kind of corner or close to a wall or something like that. This is one that has a pie, an apple, and then a slice of that pie. I think it's an apple pie. And strong cast shadows in those. You'll notice that the highlights are closest to where the light source would be. And this is a glass of boba tea. Like I said, glass can be, or see-through plastic, can be difficult to do. But they've got the shadow. It's just a little bit less stark where it's still in the cup. And this one would be the cylinder of the glass. You'll notice that the individual little bubble tea bobas are shaded like spheres. And then, of course, the straw is shaded as well. This is a slice of cake. It's missing a cast shadow for the fork. And it's missing a cast shadow for the cherry. So keep in mind that if your light source is coming from one direction, everything that's in your picture is going to have a cast shadow in it. So there would be a little shadow cast right here. So what are our goals? The goal of this project is for you to practice shading 3 basic geometric forms and to make it look 3-dimensional. Remember, for rounded objects, I really recommend that you use rounded and curving lines, those cross contour lines. It'll help things look more curved and more rounded. With your practice that you guys did last week, a lot of you guys did a really good job with that. Some of you guys have some more work to do with that, some more practice to do with that, so just keep that in mind. Make sure that the darkest values are in your cast shadows. You're going to have a full range of values. So you guys did a 6 range value scale last week. You had 6 distinct different values. I want you to use that full range from pure white paper to the darkest you can get your pencil marks on your objects for this project too. And remember that your highlights are going to be both the lightest values. You can use an eraser to erase that back to your plain white paper if you need to. And those are also going to be the closest to your light source. So these are our goals for this project. Remember that we have office hours on Wednesday morning at 8:30 if you guys have any questions for me that you want to check in with me about, if you have any concerns, or if you want to show me your work in progress for some pointers, some help, some tips. I'm here to help out. Yeah, this will be due on Saturday.